In The Only Necessary Thing, Henry Nouwen describes prayer like this: prayer is entering into communion with the one who molded our being in our mother's womb, and with love and only love. There in the first love lies our true self, a self not made up of the rejections and acceptances of those with whom we live, but solidly rooted in the one who called us into existence. In the house of God we were created. To that home we are called to return. Prayer is the act of returning. I was really struck by Henry Nouwen's words and his description of prayer. I wanted the experience of prayer that he described to be my own. Through previous TED Talks that we've had, I learned that there is power in the little. I can make small commitments first and then grow to commit more through time. In order to keep these commitments, I learned that my goals needed to be realistic and specific. That means that if I wanted to grow in my prayer life, then I needed to schedule a specific time, place, and location for me to do it. So I committed to 10-minute daily prayers. Monday through Friday, I would pray for 10 minutes at the beginning of my lunch break. Since I had this scheduled, I knew where to be and when. This helped me to stay consistent for the past couple of months since I started. In addition to wanting to develop a habit of foundation in my prayer life, I wanted to also experience God like Henry Nouwen did through prayer. He described that prayer is an act of returning to God, returning to the only place and source of our significance. This rang really true to me as I wanted to bring to God my struggle over people's approval. Other people's opinions of me carried a lot of weight into how I felt about myself. Each year, this came up in different ways. And going into my third year out of college, I learned that people still love me when they give me feedback. In fact, it's because that they love me that they do. But anyways, I realized that at the beginning, when I received feedback from my leaders over a variety of different things, such as needing to take more ownership, learning to be a better communicator, and being corrected over my lack of thoughtfulness and care towards others, it would take me a long time to get over my feelings of lameness and self-consciousness. When I was around people, my thoughts automatically raced towards wondering what that particular person thought of me. Did they like me? Did they think less of me because I messed up? This left me feeling pretty insecure and disconnected around people, and I saw how my self-worth would fluctuate on the basis of what people thought or what I did. One of my leaders was pretty spot on when she told me that if my source of love and approval constantly came from other people, I was never going to feel loved and secure. Another leader reminded me that my true source of significance came from my identity in Christ, and that should make a difference in my life. I knew these things to be true at a head level, but there was a gap when it came to really knowing it and owning it as reality in my heart. What's been helping me bridge this gap is the discipline of prayer. I saw prayer as one way I could really struggle in this area instead of thinking that if I could just write it out and time would just resolve it. Through my times of prayer, I learned that, number one, the more that I connect with God and dwell on what He thinks of me, the less of my energy is spent thinking about what others are thinking of me. Oftentimes, my emotions and self-consciousness still come up as I interact with people, but I'm seeing that as I'm learning to direct my attention to God, His view of my life and my actions are going to get bigger, and as a result, my fears over the views of people are going to get smaller, or they're going to be placed in the right perspective. I'm still not there yet, but I'm hopeful that as I continue to be consistent in prayer, I'll be able to be more rooted in God's view of me, and I'll be able to experience and enjoy people as they are, as people to relate with and love, instead of people I have to gain a sense of approval over. Number two, prayer has been a chance for me to come to God just as I am. I get to acknowledge who He is, and then I get to confess the broken feelings, thoughts, emotions, and ways that I don't work right before Him. It's freeing to be able to be honest and simply state the ways that I am and know that God accepts me despite that and loves me. Prayer gives me a chance to communicate with God and not hide the ugly parts of me that I don't want to be displayed before other people. The 10 minutes a day of daily prayer didn't magically solve my problems or issues I've been dealing with, but these daily short times of prayer have given me space to acknowledge God and bring myself before Him in the midst of my everyday little challenges and struggles. It's created more hunger for me to know God more intimately and personally, and I'm hopeful that as I just continue to stick with this discipline and daily submit to it in faith, that through time I'm going to experience becoming easier to acknowledge Him and that I'll be able to rest and be secure in His love for me.